Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. For those of you who are enjoying the holidays, happy holidays. For those of you who are choosing to grind, may your hard work pay off. Last night I was watching my routine amount of games that were going on, and some eyebrow raising comments post game by Anthony Edwards. Depending on what side of the coin you're on, cameras caught him at the right time or the wrong time, and he basically unloaded on the team, stating that the team was soft. As you all know, Julius Randle had a blow up with Rudy Gobert, the same Rudy Gobert who had a problem with Spider in Utah, same Rudy Gobert who had a teammate in Kyle Anderson who got physical with him, the same Rudy Gobert who, uh, you know, is now bumping heads with Julius Randle. Um, there was a play in particular that Julius Randle was bringing the ball up, which I thought was one of the key components to Randle bringing them another, ball distributor. Considering that Mike Conley has been injured on and off, and he's up there in years. So Julius is bringing the ball up. He throws the ball to Rudy. Rudy under the rim, but he kind of gave it to him like here, type of thing. Not very enthusiastic. It wasn't done with love. It was done with frustration because that's not the way he wanted that possession to go. And don't get me wrong, Julius can be toxic, but we're gonna get to that. I just keep seeing people, revisiting this New York Knicks Minnesota Timberwolves trade that happened on the eve of the season, and to their credit, to their respect, I understand why they would feel that way. You know, um, it's obvious it was done on the eve of the season, but this is the difference between surface level people and people who really know ball. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this is exactly right here why I made a page, because I just can't stand there not being nothing out in the universe to really see it from the way I see it. If someone did, I wouldn't feel the need to be here. I wouldn't waste my time. Let's be very clear. First of all, kudos to Carl Towns, because from a psychological perspective, he's more of a type B, chill, reserve guy. There was times where you could tell he maybe didn't agree with the way Anthony Edwards did things, but he has no ego. He's an ultimate team player, and he's a chill, naturally fall back kind of guy. So the chemistry, the team, everything. Even though there was moments where Anthony might have, the after all that mocking and stuff like that, but I want to remind people, besides the small 20-25 game window, the Knicks were together. Randall, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson. That team was not really even together, right? That's one. Number two, the Knicks, I see this time and time again. Those type of teams like what the Knicks have, high scoring, fast paced, three and out, everyone five out offense. That stuff might be cool in the regular season. You're going to get throttled in the playoffs if they don't go find an Aaron Gordon, okay, who's been out for a little bit, mind you, a key Western Conference foe. And I'm going to speak of the Nuggets again, but you're going to get throttled thinking you can play five out in the playoffs and not have a real 6-10-4 at there. Even if it's Kyle Kuzma, the Knicks need something. Don't let this regular season don't let that 26-13 from Karl Towns fool you, right? I get the psychology. Joel Embiid is going to be on. They probably got word, knowing Leon, he's well connected. Oh, Joel Embiid is, on minute restriction. Let's go take advantage of a very important, powerful position and get ourselves the next best center in the league, even though he's been at the 4, which is another reason why the Wolves were able to work. An example of how selfish Karl Towns is. But don't get it twisted. You don't get yourself a multi-level position defender, athletic enough to play 1 through 4, 1 through 5, and can still space the floor, set screens, i.e. Draymond, i.e. Aaron Gordon. Guess what? It's all empty calories. The Knicks are judged by the postseason now. Okay? If you wanted to just be whatever, you could have just left the team the way it is. We would have been cool with Obi Toppin, R.J. Barrett quickly like that, and keep Brunson, and that's it. When you go and acquiring guys and paying them $200 million extensions like you did OG, when you go and acquire a guy in Karl Towns whose contract accelerates to $60 million a season, mind you, Isaiah Hartenstein is getting $85 million total, and it will put that boy Karl Towns in shambles if they had to see each other in the postseason. Guess what? The barometer raises. There's no longer a judgment on, oh, look at how we're winning all these regular seasons. No. You got bigger fish to fry now. Now the judgment in the bar is championship or bust. So right now, if you have short-term thinking, if you're a small-minded individual, you think you're winning right now as a Knicks fan in this win column, in this trade. But it's small, short-term vision. The big picture is the Minnesota side. This is like a corporation going through a merger. The Minnesota Timberwolves, remember, they not only did probably one of the greatest upsets in the history of pro hoops, they made, as a young team out of left field, they made it all the way to the Western Finals, right? They knew that, okay, look, we had a one-up on the league from a standpoint because most teams didn't have two bigs. You know who's the other team that had two bigs? The Dallas Mavericks. You know how the Dallas Mavericks got in the playoffs? Because at the trade deadline, they at the last second went and stocked up at a position that was important, and they caught it at the right time. Imagine buying something at the perfect time. And so they stacked up on that, and they won that trade because they got two valuable bigs when most teams don't even have one. And if you got one, they're going to get overworked because as soon as the one who was starting starts to get winded, you can immediately go to a fresh body and there's no drop off in production. So when you have a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, you got to understand they're playing with bigger stakes. Right now, yes, there's a lot of turbulence. There might be a little disruption going on. They have a lot of depth. That's the other problem. And remember, this is what this decision by Tim Connolly is right up the alley of what he's known for. When the franchise all-time leader in wins, Mike Malone, said he was trying to trade Jamal Murray, and they had to tell him to calm down. So when he went and did this might have been, I still like the trade, even though DiVincenzo, the problem is they got Shannon, who I don't think people know last year. Shannon was supposed to be the National College Player of the Year up there with Zach Edey, giving a run for Zach Edey's money. But he got into some legal problems and his season got derailed. But he was supposed to be on a national scale. And then you have a guy like Rob Dillingham, who is a day one capable rookie. Out of his rookie season, he's already ready to do magnificent things, but the depth is so overwhelming. This is sometimes you can be overloaded with talent, and it can also be a detriment because you're not getting quality reps when it's always looking over your shoulders. Players don't want to be looking over their shoulder. There needs to be a respectable hierarchy. First string, second, third string, third string. When everyone is starter capable, it doesn't allow to create rhythm because everybody is getting limited opportunities. So you have to have guys who know, I'm the backup. This is the backup to the backup. But when you have when you have three people and they're just loaded at every spot, and so you can't really create no cohesion, paired with the last second big trade that completely reshifted their roster. Now, do I think Minnesota's going to make it out the West? Probably not. But there is going to come a time where all this will come together and everything will snap into place and they'll make a run. Chris Finch was just coach of the, in coach of the year discussions. You think all of a sudden he forgot the game? You know what I mean? Now, do I think Rudy Gobert is a problem? Absolutely. But Chris Finch needs to eventually go to his sixth man of the year and Julius Randle and start them together. I like the McDaniels inclusion back into the starting lineup, and they have tough decisions to make, quite frankly, because Mike Conley's not washed yet, so they can't just get rid of Conley. But I expect if they're developing correctly for Rob Dillingham at some point to make it undeniable that he needs to be a starter, and then they need to allow the problem right now is the problem also is Conley is too old to ask to do things to rely on heavily, and Rob Dillingham is too young to manage this superiorly gifted team at the top that's so top heavy, but also has a bench. You can't tell a rookie to try to go out there and be in charge of Julius Randle, who's been around since Kobe, and then Anthony Edwards, a generational Mount Rushmore talent, and deal with one of the most problematic personalities in Rudy Gobert in the NBA. It's just a lot. It's not going to be able to. The timeline is frisky. And so ultimately what's going to happen is what you seen last night. Anthony Edwards is like, look, I gave you guys the candy. Now it's time for the medicine. I'm going to have to start putting my foot down because this is my team. And he did exactly what he's supposed to do. This isn't trouble in paradise. This is exactly the card. This is exactly the play that you want to see from your young franchise leader. Because at the end of the day, with respect, all due respect to Julius Randle, you're not Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has been, settling at the top of the three-point line, accommodating, letting him get acclimated, even letting him take game-winning shots. But we know who Baby Jordan is on this team. And so ultimately, now the second process of integration begins. This team is soft. He starts attacking people, making them feel a little insecure because you have to do that. You have to hone in on it. Okay, you think you tough? Well, I'm going to match toughness with even more toughness to reel this thing in because he is a little bit out of control. That's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too much animation from a guy who just is new to a company, right? I don't like seeing that. You're a little too comfortable. If it's only been, 2 weeks he's been on the season and you're already throwing those type of just complete blowovers. If you're Anthony Edwards, he did exactly what he's supposed to do as the long tenured, as the best player by far, employee, reeled this all the way back in. Hold up. All this is mine. I'm going to get this thing in order. That we have reached out of control. When guys are throwing the ball at each other on the court, no. That's when it's like, okay, I tried to be cool. I even compromised my statistic. Now we're going to reel this in. I love what I see from Anthony Edwards. This is exactly what was necessary. It's the perfect strategy. I know he comes off like, he talks a little slang and he, very intelligent move, high EQ decision and choice to go in there and say, we're going to step on this. Now, time is of the essence. We're in the West. It can get ugly quick. Our back is against the wall already, and treating it like it's a must-win series, like they're already in a 7-game series. I love that for him. I love what he's doing because Coach Finch, I don't think has the personality strong enough to really like, hey guys, knock it off, and he's not going to raise his voice and stuff. He's the only person who could do that, and he did it. And now how the team responds, who's going to be, if he's got right, because remember, anything is one thing I'll say about Randle, he's not going to go to the media. So he's an old school kind of guy. Whatever problems are going on, he's going to keep it in-house. So they have no problem beefing with each other in front of the camera and not talking through the media. That's the worst thing you can do, is when you start talking through the media. That's not what they're going to do there. I would be shocked if that's what happens. What's going to happen though, you might see a couple arguments on the side. You might see a couple pushing, a couple maybe scuffles, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to keep it in-house. And as long as it stays in-house, this is all healthy, believe it or not. There's nothing wrong with what's going on right now. You got to just sit back, sometimes only a player can do with this type of stuff. A coach will get fired, a coach will lose the locker room. But if Anthony Edwards is out there and he's like, this is me, I'm the cornerstone, I'm the asset. At the end of the day, you all either have had your chance, it's not your chance yet, or it's never going to be your chance because I'm officially superior to everyone here, and then you go from there. I can't wait to see the level of obedience. There might need to be 2, 3, 4 more incidences where Ant has to, wear down Julius. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I have full confidence this situation will end with the Wolves finding their rhythm, finding their footing in the league. Now, do I think they'll make it to the to the finals? To be determined. I haven't even looked at it that deep yet because like I said, they got to figure out how they're going to use their second unit. Is it DiVincenzo or is it Dillingham? You got McDaniels who has to stay on the court because there's too many quality, lengthy wings. You need someone who you can just slide over on the other team's best perimeter defender so Ant can just focus on scoring and not exert all his energy on playing both sides of the ball. Even though he's capable of being a lockdown defender, the goal should always be to protect your best piece and not make them exert more energy than they need to. So that's why I think it's perfectly fine to keep McDaniels. The question is, and McDaniels is more important than Dillingham and DiVincenzo, but that equation is going to get tricky because Dillingham's a rookie. I think you only roll him out when you absolutely have to. But like if Ant's not having a good night, you want to have an actual point guard on the floor. Not that DiVincenzo can't make reads, but he's a shooting guard. He's going to make reads like a shooting guard. He'll see some plays happen before it happens, but he's still equipped to look for his and make the basic pass. Dillingham is a pure point guard, one of the rare breed dual threats, who is day one ready. I've been talking about this since I watched him since high school, honestly, which is crazy because I don't even really watch high school basketball like that. But he had a Snapchat vlog on social media. That's how I intercepted it, and then I just happened to be like, whoa, this guy's going all the way. No question about it. And then he went to Kentucky, which I was nervous about because I was like, Kentucky is a little tricky there. That's a loaded school. I don't know if he's going to be able to get his, to fully display. And he did come off the bench, but he still ended up shining through. And great news, Reed Shepherd still was able to do his thing, going 4th overall to the Houston Rockets, which is probably one of the biggest surprises I've ever seen on draft night. I've never seen, that was a big time surprise for me that Houston went with Reed. Especially since landing Fred VanVleet was a big wish list thing for them for many years. But it does create flexibility at any time. You see, they were in big time Houston Rockets rumors. You heard here first. For those who actually know and pay attention, I was one of the first people to put out all the reasons why the Houston would be a great match. And when everyone was talking about KD to the Rockets, I'm like, if anything, it's going to be Giannis. But like I broke down, this is not the time. It's definitely not going to happen before the trade deadline that Giannis gets moved. I don't know why commercial mainstream media wants to put out these fake fillers out there. I guess they just need something to write about. As someone who doesn't create every day, I'm not going to criticize how people make it through the day. If that's what you want to do as a large outlet, create imaginary trade scenarios that will never happen, so be it. For me, I'd rather just be silent. If I don't have anything quality to add, I just don't. I'm not going to sit up here and conjure up fake scenarios. Every time you hear me talk about a speculation is because it's a high probable chance or it really should be looked into. Never going to just put out fabricated news just to get a bunch of fake numbers, just to get a bunch of inflated numbers. So that's just my philosophy. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So, but when Giannis is going to the Rockets, that was probable. I mean, that was possible. And so, now you're looking at this whole thing unwind and, all I'm going to say is at the end of the day, just bear with the Wolves. They're still one of the most dangerous teams in the league. They just have to figure out these rotations. And again, it would have been able to be done, but Tim Connolly is more of a pure GM, and I don't know if he has really understanding of playing in the league and having which you don't have to play in the league to understand these type of concepts. That deal should have been, if you were going to make that deal should have been done earlier in the offseason. You had all summer. Why wait on on the eve of the season to start trying to make a trade like that is beyond me. That's a GM who, and that matches the personality and everything you gather when you hear about the stories of him. Phenomenal, brilliant mind, but maybe a little bit out of touch or a little insensitive towards what exactly it is that could have potentially been a problem. I still love the trade for them. I love the trade for the Knicks if it resorts with another move. If this is it and they think they're done, then you know what? It's all for naught. I don't even want to talk about the Knicks, Lakers, and Jazz are unwatchable for me. I don't care. It's not. Those are three teams that I feel literally an overwhelming feeling of just tiredness. It drains me to have to watch them play because it's like, what is this leading to? They're not even, you know what I mean? With the Jazz, it's well, I'll get to it later, but with the Jazz, it's like, that's not a real rebuild, and the Lakers are not real threats, and the Knicks are not real threats. So it's like, what exactly are you doing besides just The Lakers especially, they're just a cesspool of the drama. They're the NBA version of the Jets. And then the Knicks is like, well, we know we're looking at an incomplete project, but comparing the two is completely ridiculous to me because, that Knicks team didn't spend any time together, so they really were just, it's easier to try to latch together and find an identity, especially when you have history. I think was okay. Hart, Brunson, and Bridges all went to Villanova, so you already have a camaraderie, you already have a familiarity, and then you have egoless guys, easy to get along guys like Carl Towns, and and then Tibbs already plays a tight rotation, so you're getting so much repetition in such a small window. It's like it's of course in the short term they're winning the race, but it's a marathon. This is not a sprint, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? At the end, OG is another guy who's very selfless, so it doesn't matter, like chemistry-wise. He's very easy to get along with, and there's been running jokes virally on the internet right now that he's like the new Kawhi. 1 second, please. So, ultimately, at the end of the day, the Wolves are where they're supposed to be, and it's just a small process. This does not mean by any means that they're not a threat to make it to the finals. They're just as good, and in fact, I like them better than the Mavericks even. Don't let them fool. Oh, Najee Harris, 6 games with 20 points recently. I don't care about none of that. The Wolves are the most dangerous team in the league. They got one guy who nobody can stay in front of, and then a bunch of threats at any time they can play. They got a problem for every solution, and vice versa, a solution for every problem. All right, Utopians, I'll try to do better next time. Global, out.